Corruption is a foundational problem that started right from the infant stage.
Welcome to Noble TV Live. I am Lily Calvin. Today we're going to be looking at corruption as a vice in Africa and Nigeria as a whole. Doing justice to that topic with me is Valentine Agogo. Good to have you.
Thanks for being here. Thank you.
So, how did we get here? How did we get to this point where corruption is now the talk of the town, is now the talk of everyone? In fact, on everybody's lip is corruption. Every practice is corruption. How did we get here? How do you see corruption in Africa?
All right, thank you for that question. Firstly, the very simple sentence could say corruption is basically perversion of norm or perversion of justice or permitting wrongs, all right, giving excuse for wrongdoing. We would say that corruption is a foundational problem in Africa. It's not a problem of the elites, it's not a problem of the adults, it's not a problem of the political space, like it's being restricted, so it's popularly restricted to the political space. So we wouldn't say corruption is a political space thing. It's a foundational problem that started right from the infant stage, all right? We find parents having to get the children to do things after giving them an offer. That is corruption. Like you want a child to stop crying, you offer the child candy.
No, that's bribery.
Yeah, so it's they're all part of corruption, all right? So
that's what
that starts from there. So the child knows that when I cry harder, I'll get candy. Okay. All right, so then you find out when the child gets into school, instead of putting the child in a school where the child will strive hard to pass, study hard, won't find it very easy to just get grades being gifted to him or her. He would have to work hard in his academic studies. But now we rather put them in schools because we'll find out that maybe in this school they give positions like first, second. You know, our time we give first, second, third, fourth, all right, up to 22, 25 in the class. If you're 200 in class, some people will get carry 200 over 200 out of 200. But now the educational sector is they are yielding to this system where schools no longer give grades in terms of numbers. They just say you passed, you qualified, you've been promoted and all that. So the students no longer know who was first, who was second. So that competition is no longer there. All right. So we're trying to yield to the kids. And if you find parents taking their children from schools who still practice this old style of education, going to the new modern schools where they just go and they give them grades and so on. I listened to a popular preacher who took us back to what happens presently compared to our time, where currently you might have 200 people in a class, in an SS3 class, all right? And when it's time for WAEC, that same school become like 30. In other words, the other 170 have been withdrawn to special centers. Because we actually have special centers now in Nigeria where the special centers, when any pupil there, the answers are being called out for them. Number 1, A. Number 2, C. Number 3, D. That's a special center.
And with that, you're not helping the child.
And you pay specially for it. All right? So I was telling a young girl the other day, I said, if you don't prepare very well, I heard you went to a special center and you came out with parallel A's, which you cannot even defend any of the courses. Now you want to go into university with that kind of foundation. That's already a corrupt foundation. If that child doesn't pay to find her way through school, she would offer her body in exchange to go through school. And that is already heaping corruption upon corruption. So it's a foundational problem that needs to be dealt with from the source, which is the family itself. Before we now talk about the schools, before we talk about the society, but we now migrate to the government. Government roles, whether you're a public official or a private investor, before we start getting to that point, it needs to start from somewhere.
All right. So what's the effect of corruption in our society today? I'm very sure there are so many effects.
There are a million effects. Okay, there are a million effects. For instance, we have young teenagers who are 14, 15, 16 because of the societal decay. Let me use that word now. Called societal decay, they tend to want to just get rich fast. All right? And because of poverty and corruption. The parents don't hold them accountable for the source of their wealth. They just partake in it.
Yeah.
Until crisis erupts. Until crisis come out, and of course maybe they lose that child, or they get into police cases, court cases, or they are jailed and all that. Then they'll start saying, oh, we didn't know, we didn't do this. But you kept quiet because you were receiving money from that child.
Right.
All right, that is a major vice. And even some of these children, they indulge in a lot of illegal practices that they eventually may have their way through, because maybe some of these law enforcement agents that might apprehend them, they would pay their way out of it. They'll bribe their way out of it. That is corruption. They didn't learn it overnight. They learned it from childhood. They learned it so they saw someone do it, and they adopted that culture. And now it's become their way of life. Imagine the young man or the young lady who went through school and had to not only pay the lecturer to pass the course, but had to also offer body. By the time he gets, or he or she gets to that position of being a lecturer, because most people think that when you see lecturers request for sex, it's only the men who do it. There are also female lecturers who also make requests. All right. Now, when they get into that same position as lecturers, they will still carry out such practice because they've come of age to understand that is the norm. Now imagine that person becoming a professor. You can use such a professor to rig elections.
That's true.
Yes, because the integrity is no longer there. That foundation is no longer there. You might profess a particular religion, Christianity, Islam, to back up your verbal integrity, but your actions speak differently. These are some of the vices of corruption. And for carry those kind of vices, imagine someone's already corrupt, being in a position of authority or being in a position of government to provide more justice. Of course, the people will suffer it.
That's true.
The people will suffer. The masses will suffer it.
Okay. Yes, of course we know the masses.
It would affect growth.
Yeah. But now we want to look at possible solutions. What do you think is a solution to stop or to curb corruption?
Well,
because
it's not. It's yes.
Completely.
It's
so how can we
funny thing that is, there is nowhere in the world where corruption does not exist.
Yes.
Yes, let's be true to ourselves. There is no part of this world, even the Western world, there are corruptions at a very large scale, high scale there. But it's not basically evidently reflecting on the people and their sufferings, like it's reflecting in Africa. If we want to start approaching corruption, it's going to take years, all right, for us to fix it to a reasonable extent, all right. But we could start from the families. The family needs to start reducing their level of adoption of the Western culture in raising their children, where they say you can't strike the child. I'm not saying out here on TV that you should strike your children, but where it calls for it, you can spank them. It's the rod of correction, all right. You can spank them, all right, so that they can become normal. But in the Western world, you do that, you'll be jailed. All right. So, but in our society, if we don't correct our children, they will go haywire. So our parents need to be very careful the measure of Western culture they adopt, because this Western culture didn't build us to have the integrity we have today. All right. Our own traditional culture, our own discipline, our own level of restraint and commitment to tradition has kept us, has curbed our excesses. All right. So if we are neglecting and throwing all that into the garbage, all of a sudden, because we want to adopt a foreign culture, we are taking a risk. All right. Then we can also have public speakers speak more boldly, especially if you are a clergy on the pulpit or you're a public speaker. Whatever platform you have on social media, speak more on corruption so that people who come across your content would get information and learn and decide to start applying some of these things to their personal lives. And before you know it, the reform would start gradually, but to take a long period of time.
Okay.
We can start from somewhere.
Take a long period of time, but we are just work in progress. Corruption has eaten deep into our society, and it's high time we come together to curb it. Yes, we cannot eradicate it 100%, but we can try from our homes. Don't forget, change begins from you and I. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Mr. Valentine. I'm giving you doctor now because you were actually talking like a doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Valentine. All right, so thank you so much. This is Lily Kelvin on Global TV Live. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Have a wonderful day.